Yo, yo, yo. What's good, everybody? Coming to you guys today with my review for Wrestlepalooza. And man, oh man, where do I begin? I generally want to know where to even start. First off, I have to do this because this is my overall thoughts. And it's not even just me trying to troll or anything like that. But this is what I think of Wrestlepalooza. Honestly, honestly, let me do it again. Bro, I'm watching the show. I'm trying to find some silver lining in what's happening, right? First, I want to give a shout out to In the Clutch, Dub, and Ross, my guys. Had a blast. Had a blast. Had an amazing time with those guys. Definitely looking forward to definitely tapping in and hanging out with them again in the future. We had a great time. But this show was just felt in spots all over the place. They tell us that this show is going to be WrestleMania like quality. I'm watching this show and I did not get any feeling of WrestleMania at all. Not even 10%, not 5%, not even 3%. I got nothing from this. What are we doing? Just and then we're gonna go through the matches. We're gonna give my thoughts and opinions on these matches because I did, take notes on these matches so I can have it up for the review for and everything like that for today. But like, I'm watching this and we see that this show is the first of ESPN. We know if you guys are living under a rock, this was the first show of the ESPN era of WWE. The first show of ESPN. We're thinking it's going to be this monumental show that's going to definitely bring in new eyes to the product, get more eyes on what things are happening in WWE with the storylines that they're trying to progress. But watching this show, it felt like they did none of that. It felt like, to an extent, they were not even trying. I'll give a pass to some things, but this right here, we're gonna get through all of these matches today, you guys. But before we get into it, I want to be honest with you guys. What is your overall grade for WrestlePalooza this year? I really want to know. I really want to get your thoughts and opinions on what did you guys think of WrestlePalooza. We're gonna go through the matches. We're gonna talk about them. We're gonna dissect them. I want to get your thoughts and opinions as we go through these as well. But man, I I really felt bad. I really don't even feel like this pay per view was worth the $30 that people have been paid for it. If you watched on Netflix, shout out to you. Shout out to you because you did not have to deal with what we did. Luckily for me, I was not home to stream it. I was out with the homies, with Dub and Ross, and we were I was on their channel and stuff like that. I made did my own little reactions as well throughout the show and everything like that. But I definitely want to put that out there. Shout out to, but like I said, shout out to them. Shout out to all the people that were there in attendance that came up to say hey to me, or just we were just even having conversations about wrestling, and it was fun. Just the overall energy of being able to interact with other wrestling fans and just being able to talk things with wrestling fans was just so amazing. I love being able to do that, and I'm looking forward to doing that more. Hopefully in the future, whenever they the In the Clutch crew decide to go back to have another PLE held where we were yesterday. So definitely shout out to them. Definitely had a great time with them once again. So we start off the show with Triple H, Peacock era, and say hello to the ESPN era and everything like that. Now, when I'm seeing this, I'm thinking, okay, maybe this show is going to have some hype around it. Maybe this show will get me hyped. Maybe we'll see some things that will get me excited having to pay the $30 a month for these shows when, let's be real, I preferred the Peacock era, but let's be real, on top of that, I even preferred back then in 2014 when we had WWE Network. I feel like a lot of fans have slept on that and I feel like now currently we are suffering because of it. I feel like people didn't give it a lot of the love that it should have. Like, we had it really good when you look back on it, especially when you look at where we are now, and everything like that, where we only were paying $10 a month, but we were getting a lot of content for those $10. We got a lot of unlimited WWE content with the WWE Network. Now, we started off with Brock Lesnar and John Cena. We see Brock come out there. He come out first. He's getting his pyro and everything. Like, he's amped up, ready for the match. John Cena comes out there with looks like 50 kids from the Make-A-Wish Foundation and everything like that, who are all in the color yellow. They were wearing yellow John Cena shirts. So was John Cena. Before the match starts, Paul Heyman comes out there, and he is, amping up Brock Lesnar. He's advocating for Brock Lesnar, introducing Brock Lesnar right before the match starts. And after the match starts, Brock Lesnar wasted no time immediately going after John Cena, positioning him in the corner of the ring, attacking the midsection numerous times throughout the match. John Cena tries to fight back, but gets hit with a clothesline for his troubles. Commentary is selling the fact that the last time John Cena was able to defeat Brock Lesnar was back in 2012. And if you guys were not around and were not watching, this happened at Extreme Rules that year. This marks the only time John Cena has got the win over Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar beat John Cena at SummerSlam, and he went on to defeat him here tonight. And then if you went back to 2014, once again, he ended up, the match ended up in a DQ because Seth Rollins got involved, and that led to the Royal Rumble in 2015, where we had the triple threat match where Brock retained by pinning Seth Rollins. So, after the fact that they brought that up, they brought up the fact that John Cena has only been able to defeat Brock Lesnar in his career one time. So that made me think, okay, well, he's got to win this, right? For the way they positioned the story, they were going to give John Cena his win back after all this time, fighting from underneath, trying to get the upper hand over Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is just dismantling this man piece by piece by piece by piece throughout this match. Brock Lesnar goes and he ends up hitting a running power slam on John Cena. And when I'm seeing this, who does Brock Lesnar think he is? Braun Strowman? Hitting a running power slam on John Cena. Brock proceeds to go for a suplex on John Cena, and it connects. Brock puts John Cena in a bear hug hold. The crowd is amping up John Cena to fight back, to get back in the match, to continue. They're rallying behind him. John Cena gets Brock up to an attempt an AA, but Brock evades and hits John Cena with yet another clothesline. Then Brock goes and hits Cena with a second suplex. This was the second suplex throughout this match, and it was giving me PTSD of SummerSlam 2014 all over again. Because if you guys remember, Brock was just throwing this man around the ring with numerous suplexes all over the ring, up and down the ring. And Brock gets Cena up looking for an F5, what looks like to be an F5. Cena was able to evade. He pushes Brock Lesnar into the turnbuckle. Cena is trying to capitalize on the moment at hand by trying to put down Brock Lesnar by going for numerous shoulder tackles. He goes for it not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. It took 4 times for him trying to go for a shoulder tackle to put Brock Lesnar down for the time being. It, like I said, it took 4 attempts. Brock is on the ground. The crowd is behind Cena. Cena's being amped up by the crowd. And John Cena goes and hits an AA, but Brock gets back up after getting hit with the AA. John Cena goes for a second AA, and he gets back up once again. Brock goes and gets hit with another AA by John Cena. John Cena makes 3 AAs that were hits by John Cena to Brock Lesnar here. Then he goes for the pin. Brock kicks out at 2.5. Then he goes to attempt a 5-knuckle shuffle. But this right here was the beginning of the end. He goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle. He turns around and gets hit with an F5. And Brock just went on an absolute car wreck here. This was just demolishing John Cena to the utmost highest degree. He goes on and he hits not one F5. He not only hits 2 F5s. He not only goes for 3 F5s. He not only goes for 4 F5s. He not only goes for 5 F5s. But he goes for a 6th F5 in this match. 6 F5s. John Cena gets pinned by Brock Lesnar. Now, I was with Dub and Ross, and we were reacting to all this amongst all the other people that were there in attendance. Me and Dub were not happy. We were not happy by Brock winning this at all. Now, I told Dub that what I thought they were were setting up, the way they were positioning things, maybe the rules would be reversed and Brock would be squashed by John Cena, therefore playing into the story back at 2014 SummerSlam. But no, that did not happen. He just destroys John Cena once again. And I see Alex in the chat. He says, I think it was 7 F5s. It might have very well been, and maybe I miscounted and everything like that. We were very electric. We were losing our minds. Like the fans we are. Like the marks we are for WWE. And then to rub salt on the wound, you pan out in the crowd and you see kids with John Cena merch on, John Cena shirts on, crying. Seeing them crying. Now, I see what you were saying. I see what you're referring to, Alex. He did hit 7 F5s, but it took 6 to win the match. He hit 7 in total, but the next one that he hit was after the match. But going back to what I was saying, you pan out into the crowd. The kids are just crying. They're crying. They're sad. Showing their displeasure and sadness of seeing their hero be demolished right in front of their eyes. And I wonder what this means, honestly. I look at this match and this was my reaction of seeing this match play out. Because that's what I'm thinking watching this match here. They set it up where it looked like it was clear as day John Cena was going to get the win here only for Brock Lesnar to overcome John Cena once again, triumph over of Cena, and beat him in a dominant fashion once again. And it makes me wonder, it makes me question, what was the point of this match? What was the point of setting up this match? What was the point of having this match even be on the card? We knew that this match was going to start the show, so I'm thinking maybe they were going to set the tone in a positive way. But no, they were not doing any of that. They didn't even set the tone in a positive way by any means. They set this show up in a disappointing way, if I should say so myself. Because what are you telling me? So you're telling me now, I'm gonna bring this up. And they were, and I think me and a couple of people, we were talking about this because I'm trying to figure out what's gonna happen. What does this mean now that Brock has defeated John Cena? And before I get into that, I'm thinking John Cena was going to win this because I'm thinking they're going to continue his winning streak, or even though he lost at SummerSlam, he won at Clash in Paris. So I'm thinking he was going to continue his run as a babyface up until his final match where he maybe puts over a new talent on the way out. But no, his first match as a full-blown babyface, he loses at the hands of Brock Lesnar. So if it makes me, like, I don't care at this point. I really just lost a lot of steam. I lost a lot of whatever intrigue or enthusiasm I had for this. It just completely went out the window. It just completely, think of it as a roller coaster where you go up and you go down. This wasn't even that. This wasn't even a roller coaster of emotions for me. This match did not give me that. This right here for me was almost as a balloon deflating, because that crowd felt like a balloon deflating. It felt like a balloon deflating. Everybody was electric for this. They were happy for this match. But in an instant, just like that, the crowd went mild. They were done. They were done. They were checked out. They were done. They wanted nothing else to do with this match by any means. So me and Dub, we were both upset. We were very displeased with what happened. We literally we left the room. We left for a couple minutes. We had to both cool down, because I feel bad for the people who are paying their $30 to watch these shows, and this is what we're getting. This is the opening. This is the tone that you're setting for the people that are paying the $30 to watch. Like I said earlier, if you have Netflix and you have your VPNs, I strongly consider you continue to keep doing that. I strongly consider you. I don't even get mad at you for not wanting to pay the $30 after what we got here tonight, especially with this match. I see Eric in the chat. Shout out to you. I had a great time last night chopping it up with you last night. And but this match, so I'm guessing we're going to get another match at Crown Jewel, which I would expect John Cena to get the win back in some type of stipulation match. But it kind of defeats the purpose, because it makes John Cena still feel somewhat inferior to Brock Lesnar, because he could not win the match on his own. He could not win the match straight up one-on-one. He had to resort to using weapons to ensure his win and his victory, if this is going to continue and happen at Crown Jewel. Now, I don't know what time Crown Jewel will be starting. Some people that were there in attendance said it might start at 12 o'clock or 1. If that's the case, during the day, fine. I'm okay with that. But I would not be surprised, based on what happened last year when we went to Perth, Australia for Elimination Chamber, where they started at 5 in the morning here on the Central, if you're on Central Standard Time, 5 a.m., or 6 a.m. probably over on the East Coast. But yeah, Definitely, I can see this match continuing, but like I said, I don't have any excitement right now for this feud continuing after what we've seen. Now, we've seen Cody and Brock continue their feud a couple years ago, and back in 2023 after Mania. Brock turned on Cody at night after WrestleMania. This led to them having a numerous encounter of matches over the summer of 2023. The first encounter was at Backlash, where Cody got the win over Brock. It led into the next match, which was at Night of Champions, where Brock got the win over none other than Cody. Then the trilogy ended at SummerSlam, where Cody got the win over Brock once again. So this is giving me reasons to believe if we are going to continue this feud. We've seen SummerSlam be repeated here at none other than Wrestlepalooza, where Brock got the win over Cena. So we are about to probably be going into potentially Crown Jewel with another match between John Cena and Brock be set up, maybe in a stipulation type of match. And then maybe we'll get another match down the line. But I don't know how we're going to be doing that. So you're telling me the way this is being set up, it seems as if the last feud we are about to have with John Cena before his retirement is going to be against Brock Lesnar. I'm not by any way, shape, or form excited for that. Because if you're telling me this is what we're going to be leaning into, think about it. We only have until December before John Cena hangs it up and officially walks into the sunset and retires as a competitor for WWE. We are on his retirement tour, ladies and gentlemen. When he became a babyface once again, I was excited. The match at SummerSlam surpassed what they put on at WrestleMania. The match that he had with Logan Paul at Clash was very, very good in my opinion. Probably my favorite match on the show for a fact. But then we just go right back into just almost phoning it in with the way Brock and Cena ended up playing out. So we're going to have a match probably at Crown Jewel. That's their next match probably. Then we have Survivor Series. And the way they set things up, we're probably going to have Brock team up with The Vision going into Survivor Series. And we're probably going to have John Cena align with CM Punk and company going into Survivor Series this year. And then what? We're going to do his final match against Brock Lesnar to end the trilogy. I don't want that. Instead of giving us more matches that we are clamoring for, giving us matches with the likes of AJ Styles, giving us opportunities with people like Dominic Mysterio and elevating him as Intercontinental Champion, potentially giving John Cena the opportunity to become a Grand Slam champion before he officially retires from WWE. Instead of putting over the next generation of talent like Obafemi, Javon Evans, Carmelo Hayes, I already even said it, Dominic Mysterio, Austin Theory. We are resorting to nostalgia. That's what this match felt to me. It felt more as not just paying homage to one of the WWE's biggest rivals, or John Cena's biggest and toughest task as a competitor. This almost felt as if it was just a money grab match to shield to ESPN now that they are officially holding all WWE PLEs going forward for WWE for the next couple of years, or however long this deal with ESPN will continue. I really hope when ESPN, the deal comes up, they go back to and put all the content over on Netflix. I really do. I really hope all WWE content gets moved over to Netflix. And then after the match, before I go into the next match, the ropes on the wound, like I said, children were crying. Brock goes back into the ring and hits the referee with an F5. So, in back to back situations, we see a commentator get put down by Brock Lesnar with an F5, that being Corey Graves. And then tonight, a referee who was just trying to do his job gets hit with an F5 for his troubles. Just for being in the vicinity, just for being in the presence of one Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar goes back in the ring and hits John Cena with one more F5 for good measure, and he walks away. Like I said, this felt like nothing more than a nostalgic cash money grab shielding to ESPN. Then we get into the next match, which was the tag match between Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed of the Vision versus the Usos. The Usos coming out there to Downton's Day Winnish, their tag team theme, which I love seeing. Myself and people that were there in attendance at the watch party loved seeing those two have their theme back, which we thought would have probably been for one night, because we all were in the camp of potentially seeing literally none other than Jey Uso probably turn on Jimmy and potentially aligning with the Vision, or potentially just turning heel in general and just being on his own, potentially setting up stories down the line, potentially with Jimmy Uso or even one Roman Reigns one more time. So, now I did take notes for all these matches, like I said. So we see, I did make some key points. LA Knight is the special guest referee for this match. Adam Pearce says he needs somebody that's out there that can actually handle all of the chaos that these guys are going to have in this match. So LA Knight gets in there. He fits the mold. I mean, he had nothing else to do, so he fits the mold perfectly. He fit the bill what they were looking for. They weren't going to put him in a match. They weren't going to put him in the world title picture. No. They were going to put him in what they felt was best, which was him being special guest referee. Now, I will say it added a different element of what potentially the outcome could have been. Could he have been joining the Vision, aligning himself with them, turning on Jay and Jimmy, even though they weren't really cool to begin with, especially for Jay and LA Knight. Those two have been going at it in recent weeks leading up into the show. So we could have had an interaction there where that potentially could have led to none other than the Bronsons, the Brawns getting the W. But, so, I'm going to go into this. Bronson Reed introduces a chair in the match and tries to hit Jimmy Uso with it. LA Knight is telling Bronson not to use it, not to use the chair. But he gets hit with a super kick by Jimmy in the midsection. Jimmy Uso takes away the chair. LA Knight gives the signal to Jimmy to go ahead and use it, and he does. He hits Bronson Reed with the chair, and therefore LA Knight turns away, allowing the carnage to continue, letting the carnage unfold, if you will. Later, and then Jey Uso climbs to the top rope and takes out both Braun and Bronson for the time being in the match. Later on in the match, Jey Uso uses a chair, but the way they set it up and the way it was angled, it looked like when he propped up the chair to potentially hit Braun with it, it looked like it may have cut open or maybe caused a little marking where he was beginning to bleed. And it was very noticeable because his whole face was covered in blood. I don't know if that was supposed to happen. I don't know if that was part of the match. But regardless, he ended up bleeding. And I don't know, like I said, if it wasn't part of the match, maybe they had to call an audible or what have you. they Jey Uso and Jimmy get put through a table which was set up earlier in the match. Braun Breaker spears both Jimmy and Jay through the table. And then Bronson Reed goes to the top rope and hits a tsunami on Jey Uso to get the 1, the 2, and the 3. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are your winners of this match. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. This was the right decision. I know a lot of people were saying Jimmy took the pin over on Raw, so you could have made the case for the Usos to get the win back and win here. I'm telling you, I'm going to say this because of what they're doing. They're going to try to build up Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed as this unstoppable force as a duo. Don't be surprised if they put the tag titles on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker at some point before the year concludes. And then down the line, maybe the Usos get their win back, but it's for the tag team titles this time around. So like I said, the right team won. I was definitely happy to see Braun and Bronson get the win. I was happy to see the Usos back together again. Seeing the theme song just brought back nostalgic feels for me. But like I said, for the story that they're telling, it made sense for them to get the win. They also teased some stuff between LA Knight and Jey Uso here, which I think they're going to continue to tease, and maybe one of them may turn and align with the vision going forward if Brock Lesnar is not the final participant, in which I believe he probably will be for Survivor Series War Games come November. But we still have none other than Crown Jewel, which is about 3 weeks, I believe, from now. And everything like that. The next match to crown the new Women's World Champion, Stephanie Vaquer versus Io Sky. Now, this match was good. Now, I will say this. I was very surprised with them not having any interferences in this match. Somebody said it, I think, in one of my fan predictions, that Stephanie would win clean. And whoever that individual, I applaud you. I applaud you for saying that. I didn't think that was going to happen. This show as a whole just did not live up to the expectations that I thought. Now, people may say, well, what did you expect? Look, I didn't go into the show thinking it was going to be a pay-per-view of the year, but at the very least, I thought it could have been solid or potentially something that you can probably at least be serviceable for a fan watching the product as a whole. But they didn't do it. So we have Stephanie and Io to crown the new Women's World Champion. Like I said, I was very surprised that we didn't get any interferences here from Asuka or Kairi Sane or Rhea Ripley. I was going into this match thinking we were going to get some type of shenanigans that would have caused Io to lose. Maybe Asuka would have came down trying to cheer for Io, but it would have been her downfall, where she probably would have been distracted, and that would have led to Stephanie becoming the women's champion. Stephanie in this match was targeting the leg of Io Sky throughout the match, which were been proven to be crucial for Io, because we know her finisher, if you want to call it that, the moonsault. It would have been very difficult for her to do that in this match. So like as I said, Stephanie is targeting the leg of Io Sky, which proven to be very crucial for her. Stephanie goes for an SVB after doing the spot that the fans love, doing the devil's kiss. The fans loved it. The people in attendance at the watch party loved it. She goes for the SVB, but Io Sky kicks out at 2.5. Io Sky goes on to get back in the match. She starts to take over. It starts to become more of an even playing field. Io Sky looks to try to put this match away by going to the top rope and therefore trying to hit the moonsault. But Stephanie evades and proceeds to go to the top rope with the crowd cheering her name. She hits Io with what looked like a spiral tap from the top rope. And she goes for the pin to get the 1, the 2, and the 3. And Stephanie Vaquer is your new women's world champion. She celebrates with her dad, who's in attendance. I think if you didn't watch the Chris Van Vliet podcast, she talked about that. She talked about her dad being there in attendance and how it's going to be her first time, the first time that her dad is watching her wrestle. So we kind of knew that they were going to probably give her the win, but I still had some doubt going into the match. If you look at the history of a lot of people having matches or big important matches of their career with their families there, 9 out of 10 it leads to them losing. For example, Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31, his family was in attendance, he lost. Sami Zayn losing in front of his family at Elimination Chamber a couple years ago at the hands of Roman Reigns with his wife there. Chad Gable losing to Gunther with his family there in attendance. So I was thinking maybe we would have been in for something similar here tonight. But I'm here to tell you that Stephanie was the right decision to win this match. I understand people may have their gripes. Oh, they haven't been using her. The writing was on the wall, ladies and gentlemen. They were probably going to give her this win for several reasons. One, the reason why she was not on television is because she was taking English classes. You are not going to have one of your stars who is a foreigner be taking English classes if you're not going to have big plans for them. You look on the opposite side of the spectrum over on SmackDown with our current women's United States champion, Julia, who has Kiana James do the talking, or I should say lack thereof, because they don't let her do much of the talking, even though she is a mouthpiece for Julia. They've been having Stephanie take English classes. She said she's been getting better at it. She's starting to progress. So we kind of knew that the writing was in the wall that they were going to probably give her the championship. And another thing is, Io Sky is already wrapped up in a feud with the Kabuki Warriors. It's a slow build, but a build to something nonetheless. They are building to what I think will probably be Io and Rhea versus the Kabuki Warriors at some point in the near future. I would not be surprised if the way they're doing this story, they drag it out until WrestleMania. We know how WWE, especially Triple H, loves his long-term storytelling. I would not be surprised if they put the tag titles on the Kabuki Warriors, taking the tag titles off of Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, because we know those two are going to feud at some point. And we're going to probably end up doing Io and Rhea becoming a tag team and probably taking the tag titles off of the Kabuki Warriors as the payoff for this match. But going back to Stephanie Vaquer, like I said, the right woman to win this match. And Io Sky is a great wrestler. I'm not going to take anything away from her. And what I'm about to say is not any fault of her own. It is because of the booking and how they portray her. Is when she's a champion, she's almost a non-factor, almost an inconsistent entity, if you will. She is there for maybe a segment. She doesn't defend the title. Not really in any storylines that lead to her defending the title. We look at her previous reign as champion. She had the match at WrestleMania against Rhea and Bianca in a triple threat match where she ended up winning. She went on to not defend the championship for a couple of months. It seemed as if going into the last Saudi show, which I believe was Night of Champions, if I'm not mistaken, y'all can comment down below, let me know if I'm wrong, or let me know in the chat. But I believe it was Night of Champions, and it looked like they were setting up Io Sky versus Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship on that show. That ended up happening because Liv unfortunately suffered an injury, which has sidelined Liv for the duration of 2025 and won't be possibly returning until 2026, probably going to set up her coming back at the Royal Rumble. Stephanie was the right woman. She's celebrating with her dad. She gets back in the ring. The power is going off as a new star was made here on the show. What a year it's been for Stephanie. What a year it has been for Stephanie Vacour. She was NXT North American champion in NXT this year. She went on to hold the NXT Women's Championship this year. She went on to have an outstanding performance in the Battle Royal at Evolution and Money in the Bank. And she is now your Women's World Champion. Now, my question is, what is next for Stephanie now that she is your Women's Champion? What will the landscape be? What would her story be now that she is champion? Who will be the first to step up now that she is champion? The way things are going, I don't know if they will have her have a long reign, but that remains to be seen. I honestly feel as if she might have a transitional reign. I feel as if we could potentially be setting up her and Rhea Ripley possibly at Crown Jewel if they're not going to do this tag match. We could be setting up her and Stephanie, because Stephanie, well, I would say Rhea told Stephanie, and I think she told Io, whoever wins that women's championship, I'm coming for you, and I'm coming for that championship. So I believe we're going to be setting that up at some point throughout the year. You also got to factor in this potential heel turn for one Asuka. She might go after Stephanie, which I believe might be a great match to have Stephanie have defend her title against. I think that the in-ring quality could be something of interest. You have Judgment Day, who aren't really doing anything. You could do Roxanne up against her, or you can do what I've been saying, have Raquel face none other than Stephanie with the run that she's been on this year since Liv has gone down with injury. Talk about a woman who's been stepping up her game and has elevated herself in that ring to the next level. And then after that, we go into our next match, which is the mixed tag match between Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus CM Punk and AJ Lee. The match starts with CM Punk and Seth Rollins staring off at each other, but no really physical contact as of yet. Seth Rollins backs away just in the amount of space where Becky can reach out and she tags herself in, and she does. She reaches out, she tags herself in. Becky starts playing mind game with CM Punk. She starts shoving him, and the crowd is chanting to the top of their lungs, GTS, insinuating that they want CM Punk to hit Becky Lynch with a GTS. The crowd wanted it. The people at the watch party wanted it. Dub wanted it. Ross wanted it. I wanted it. We wanted it. We all wanted it. We think back of a couple years ago at 2019 where we had Seth and Becky team up to face none other than Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin. Now, people don't really care too much about the match. People don't even remember that match. But the one thing that they do was Becky Lynch getting hit with the end of days by one Baron Corbin. I'm thinking CM Punk is going to embrace his inner Baron Corbin for the moment. But then CM Punk tags in AJ. Becky goes to the outside, running outside the ring. They're playing a game of cat and mouse. Seth tags in. They go outside. Becky and Seth kissing each other on the outside of the ring. CM Punk runs towards the ropes, hits a suicide dive on Seth, sending Seth over the announce table. Then throws him over the barricade. CM Punk and Seth continue fighting in the ring. CM Punk is backed into a corner, and he is continuing the attack on CM Punk. The referee is counting 1, 2, 3, and 4 before the match gets called off in a DQ, which we knew it wasn't going to happen. But this gave an opening because the referee is trying to pull Seth away from CM Punk, but this opened up an opportunity for Becky to proceed to get her little pound of flesh once again, being very annoying, if you will, while the referee back was turned. But ended up, the same thing happened when AJ Lee did the same thing when the referee back was turned, but she ended up doing it to Seth Rollins just a few minutes later. Later on in the match, Seth Rollins has a hold on CM Punk. CM Punk is reaching out for AJ Lee to make the tag. The referee gets distracted because Becky Lynch gets involved in this match. This distracts the referee. AJ Lee gets tagged in by CM Punk, but the referee does not see it. Now, while the referee is trying to get AJ Lee back in the corner, Becky and Seth double team CM Punk once again. Seth Rollins hoists up Becky Lynch with what looks like a military press. He was going to throw her onto CM Punk. CM Punk evades, and she ends up getting thrown onto the mat. And the crowd was laughing. They were cheering, and so was I. So was Dub. So was Ross. So was everybody that was there at the watch party. We loved that. Later in the match, Seth Rollins was mocking CM Punk by taunting AJ Lee with the skip, but this ended up being a crucial mistake, if you will, because CM Punk ends up hitting Seth with a GTS, and this man was knocked out. This man looked like he was sleeping. And then he was having a good night's sleep, if you will. Then we see after that, CM Punk proceeds to put CM Punk ends up putting Becky in a none other than a I think it was a sharpshooter, if I'm not mistaken. But before that, AJ Lee gets tagged in, goes after Becky with the crowd saying, "You still got it." She goes for a crossbody, then she goes for a DDT, but she uses Seth to get leverage for that DDT onto Becky Lynch. Then she goes for a sliced bread on Seth Rollins onto Becky Lynch as well. And then after that, Sliced Bread has connected. AJ Lee tries to go for the pin on Becky, but she kicks out. AJ would attempt a Black Widow, but Seth broke it up, didn't allow it to happen. CM Punk comes back in, and both Seth and Becky hit AJ Lee and CM Punk with pedigrees. But both CM Punk and AJ Lee were able to kick out. And then after that, AJ Lee would go on to hit a Black Widow on Seth Rollins. And then after that, that got broken up. You have Seth and Becky, who are the only ones that are coming to. While both CM Punk and AJ Lee look like they're down for the time being. You hear Seth say the words to Becky Lynch here. He tells Becky that we are the main eventers. We are the champions, that CM Punk and AJ Lee are only back because of us. And he proceeds to go for the taunt. He goes for the taunt once again. He hits the little GTS taunt. And what happens after this is you see them go to the outside, and we see none other than Becky and Seth trying to go for the GTS. They both, AJ and CM Punk, evaded. Seth would be sent to the outside over the top rope by CM Punk. And then while still in the ring, we have AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch gets hit by an exploder by AJ Lee. Seth comes back and gets hit by a curb stomp. But before that, she looked like she was trying to mimic Seth Rollins by hitting a curb stomp onto Becky Lynch. Seth Rollins grabs the leg of AJ Lee, sending her face first. This infuriated CM Punk to lash out for the time being. And then after that, we see then Becky tries to go for an attack and gets put into the sharpshooter. Like I said, Seth comes in, yet he hits a pedigree. CM Punk then hits a curb stomp for the pin, but AJ Lee comes in, hits a curb stomp on Seth. But the way it looked like she didn't get all of it. It looked like it was kind of sloppy in spots where she didn't get all of the curb stomp, where it looked like she didn't get the full impact of the curb stomp, but it looked like she hit more of the side of the face region of Seth Rollins. So after that, she would get hit by a manhandle slam by Becky. Becky goes for the pin, but AJ Lee kicks out. The match goes to the outside. AJ Lee removes monitors from the announce table. You have Seth and CM Punk on one table, and you have AJ Lee and Becky Lynch on the other. Then you have what it looks like Seth is about to get hit with a pedigree, and Becky was about to get hit with a manhandle slam. So after this, you see over there on the side where CM Punk and Seth are, he blinds CM Punk to where he can't see, but Punk comes back and proceeds to try to hit Seth Rollins with the GTS, but Becky evades AJ Lee's attempt of hitting a manhandle slam. She would throw AJ Lee onto the side where CM Punk and Seth were. She throws her into them. They all go through the table. Becky would go over to AJ, throw her back in the ring. She would look to proceed to try to end this match by hitting yet another manhandle slam. But AJ Lee would reverse into a Black Widow. She would be forced to tap out, and CM Punk and AJ Lee get the win, setting up potential matches down the line, which we'll get to Seth in just a moment, as far as what his direction would be going into Crown Jewel, because we're about to get into that. But for AJ getting the win over Becky, that gives me reason to believe that at Crown Jewel, she would go on to challenge for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, where I think maybe Becky gets the win here, and then they'll do one more match down the line where AJ Lee ultimately takes the Intercontinental Championship from Becky Lynch. And after this match, we have The Undertaker's gong hit. He comes down in his American gimmick. He comes down on his motorcycle, riding out to the ring. He stops by, and in the corner you have Stephanie McMahon. He goes over and he asks to sit next to her. The way they did this whole segment felt weird. It just felt like what we were watching. Were we about to see them kiss or something? And I knew that wasn't going to happen, but it's the way they set it up, okay? The way they set it up made it feel like they were about to do something along the lines of that. And I hope, and I'm glad that did not happen, because that would have for sure made me tune out. But he goes over to sit and talk with her. He says, "I always wanted to do this part to you." And I was trying to figure out what did he meant by that. Like, that's not even PG. He says, "Are you ready?" And he goes on and he makes the announcement that Stephanie McMahon will be inducted into the 2026 Hall of Fame. This was something I kind of felt they were going to do at some point. Shout out to Stephanie. That's a huge accomplishment. I don't really have too much to say on that, but if you guys want to chime in and get your thoughts in on that as well, feel free. Then we get into the final match of the show, which was for the WWE Championship between Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes. The match starts with Cody slapping Drew, letting him know that he was ready for this fight. They proceed to go back and forth. Cody would attempt to go for a Cody cutter, but he could not effectively execute the move because the injury that he may have suffered the night before. Before all this happened, Drew hit Cody with the Claymore kicks and stomped on his head on that SmackDown before Wrestlepalooza, so that was brought up here. But he still was managed to get back up and still execute the Cody cutter on Drew. He would proceed to go to pin Drew, but would kick out at 2. Drew would manage to get back into it and he started to take over in the match. He takes Cody to the outside. He hits a slam on Cody into the ring post and an Alabama slam onto the steel steps as well. He gets Cody back into the ring. Later in the match, Cody hits a crossroads, but Drew would go on to kick out of that. Then Drew would try to take out Cody like he did the night before. He would prop up Cody's head against the announce table or towards the bottom part of the announce table, and he was going to try to go for a Claymore, trying to put this man out of commission. He would proceed to go and hit Cody with the Claymore, but Cody would evade and get out of the way. Drew, therefore, his whole leg went through it. He was selling his knees towards the end. Drew attempted a Claymore, but his knee would give out. This would present an opportunity and an opening for Cody to capitalize on the situation at hand. And he would go for a Cody cutter and then go for a crossroads one again. This will be make the second crossroads of this match. And he would get the 1, the 2, and the 3. And he is still your WWE Undisputed Champion. Now, the way they set this up, I feel as if we might get one more match out of this potentially. I could see Drew coming out on SmackDown saying, well, that the only reason why he won is because of his knee. Playing up his heel character, being the whiner and complaining about what transpired in the match. Now, we knew Cody was going to potentially win this based off what transpired the night before. So we knew it was going to happen. Now, let's get into what's going to be happening at Crown Jewel here. Now, I'm going to go through some of these comments here before we get into it. I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. I really do. I appreciate every single one of you who are tuning in and leaving your thoughts on this. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Is it Tager? He says, it wasn't the worst show, but ESPN wasn't playing with a lot of people's expectations, which was true. The good matches were Vaquer and Sky, absolutely. Rhodes and McIntyre, with the latter, those two can turn filler into good matches. Wasn't the worst show, but it was subpar. The way I felt watching this match, I'm not saying this is what happened, but as a fan watching what happened and spectating on how they did this match and played it out, it seems as if they showed us they don't care about Drew McIntyre. Now, if you guys know, Drew McIntyre signed a extension for, I believe, another 5 years with the company, which locks him into the WWE until 2030, if I'm not mistaken. Now, it made tonight feel as if, what was the point of him signing a new contract where it felt like it came off to an extent as a burial in this match. Now, I would hope the way they're setting things up, Drew is the one to take the title from Cody Rhodes. Because, let's be honest here, who else do they have? Yes, you have Cody and Randy. They can always do that feud. But that is a WrestleMania feud for a fact. That feud does not need the WWE Championship. That feud can honestly sell on its own as its own blood feud, playing off the history of those guys in Legacy, where Randy Orton was the mentor to one Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase. But we're not going to talk about DiBiase because his Mania match is going to be fighting jail time for his wrongdoings that he has been caught committing. But an Oracular fan, I see you say, like, it's over for Drew. Like, how many times do they have to bury him? And I agree. I was saying myself, I wanted Drew to win. This would be a prime opportunity to capitalize on the fact there is nobody there to screw Drew McIntyre over this time. You go back into Clash in 2022, where the crowd was pro Drew McIntyre to win the championship. People they were clamoring. People were probably going to the show to see the sight of a Drew McIntyre winning the WWE Undisputed Championship from one Roman Reigns. Solo came out there, screwed him over. He would go on to get screwed once again last year by CM Punk after he would win the World Championship from Seth Rollins. allowing Damian Priest to cash in and become world champion, and also failed to capture the WWE World Championship once again via Money in the Bank cash in because of CM Punk. So on paper, this was a one-on-one opportunity to finally give him his moment. You could have taken a step back from Cody as champion and given Drew his flowers and given him a moment to have a run with the championship going into WrestleMania. But let's talk about what is coming our way in about 2-3 weeks from now. On October 11th in Perth, Australia, where WWE will be holding Crown Jewel. Now, I know a lot of people did not watch the post show, and why would you? There was no reason or no any type of need to watch the post show. They don't do anything that gets you intrigued on the post show than other than people shielding to ESPN and shielding to all these people asking these dumb questions as far as what's your Waffle House order. Nobody cares about any of that. Where's the hard-hitting questions? What do you think about the show? What do you think about this certain superstar? Where do you want this story to go? That is the type of questions I want to see be asked. Triple H is on the panel for the post show, and he breaks the announcement that on October 11th in Perth, Australia for Crown Jewel, Cody Rhodes will be facing Seth Rollins in a champion versus champion match for the Crown Jewel Championship. Now, I'm thinking this was going to be a one-time thing. This was only going to be a Saudi Arabia thing, but apparently no. This is a Crown Jewel thing, a Crown Jewel exclusive, if you will. It does not matter if Crown Jewel is taking place in your mom's basement. It doesn't matter if Crown Jewel is taking place in Australia, the States, Saudi Arabia. It doesn't matter. It will be for the Crown Jewel Championship. And if you watched last year's Crown Jewel, we saw Cody Rhodes face Gunther, champion versus champion, where Cody Rhodes defeated Gunther to be the first ever Crown Jewel champion. So if this is going to be the outcome of what we're going to be getting, I am not surprised that they're going to be doing this for not only just the men, but the women as well. We knew last year we had Nia Jax, who was the women's champion. We had Liv Morgan, who was the women's world champion. But unlike the men's championship for this year, we have the defending champion, who is none other than Cody Rhodes, going into this year to probably defend the Crown Jewel championship against Seth Rollins here at none other than Perth, Australia. So if we're getting, but unlike that, but on the side of the women's side, neither of the people who competed last year to compete for the Crown Jewel Championship are competing this year. Nia Jax is competing this Friday coming up on SmackDown against Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship, which we all knew we were originally going to get at none other than Wrestlepalooza, but there was an injury that may have took place the week prior that may have pulled Tiffany out of the NXT match and has led to the match being postponed yet another week. So Nia Jax, I don't think is winning that. I would probably think Jade Cargill will walk out as women's champion. And as far as the other person that was in last year's spectacle to compete for the Crown Jewel Championship, Liv Morgan, injured. sidelined for the rest of 2025 and won't be back until the beginning part of 2026. Probably leading into her coming out and coming back at the Royal Rumble, like I mentioned earlier. But it seems as if this is going to be the case, we're going to get Cody and Seth for the Men's Crown Jewel Championship, and Stephanie Vacour and potentially Jade Cargill to compete for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. And then I think we're probably going to get AJ Lee and Becky for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. There's 3 matches for you right there. And then if you want to do John Cena and Brock Lesnar running it back again, that's 4 matches for you right there. And then you also got to consider they're going to put Rhea on the card since she's from Australia. So she's going to be on the card for sure. You know they're not going to have her not be on the card. So they're going to probably put her on the show in some type of match, whether that's for the Women's Championship or her in the tag match. That remains to be seen. But the way things are being speculated, I think things are going to be a repeat of last year's Crown Jewel, where it was champion versus champion from the male side and the female side, respectively. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that this was the worst show of the year. I would say it was subpar, middle of the road. Triple H sat up there in his high horse and said that expect surprises. When we look at this show, he's building this whole show up as if it's going to be WrestleMania-like. We did get some decent matches on the show, don't get me wrong. But outside of the women's match, maybe the tag match for the mixed tag match, to be specific, this felt like a glorified episode of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. This show did not give me pay-per-view quality. It did not give me a pay-per-view feeling. Now, I don't know if that's because the lack of stories that they had going into this, the lack of build going into this show, or just them phoning it in for a lot of these things, not getting us a lot of interaction for the fans to really be invested in a lot of these stories going into Wrestlepalooza. Now, I'm going to get back into the chat and then we are going to close this review. That is my review for Wrestlepalooza. If I had to rate the show, this was a 4 out of 10. This was a 4 out of 10, ladies and gentlemen. The only reason why is it a 4 out of 10, because the women's match was decent. The mixed tag was decent, even though there were some spots that I did not too particularly like. There were spots in all these matches that I would say I enjoyed, but the match overall I did not like. The match I didn't like at all was the opening match. That match did not need to be anywhere near on this show. You could have left it off. It didn't need to be on the show. You could have done anything else. You could have ran back Dominic and AJ for the 50,000th time, and I would have accepted that, because we would have gotten at least a back and forth competitive match than what we got between Brock Lesnar and John Cena on this show. Ian Davis says, what's your view of the IC belt going forward? If we're talking about the Women's Intercontinental Championship, I believe after everything we saw here tonight, we are going to be leaning into Crown Jewel, which is the next PLE, where we're going to probably see Becky defend the championship against AJ Lee. When AJ Lee came back, she was wearing the title. She came out, I think, the week after with Becky's title around her waist, signifying or giving you that tease that this was the direction that WWE was going to be leaning into sooner rather than later, but for sure it was going to happen. Now, how does this match end? I don't know. Because Becky is doing some amazing work. Her character has been good. I would even make the argument that this character that we're seeing with Becky is way better than the man gimmick that we had with her in 2019. From a character standpoint, I love it. From an in-ring standpoint, I love it. All the nuances she's picking up as a heel, I'm liking it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of her reign could potentially be with her as a champion. But I do think AJ Lee is going to take the championship from Becky, whether that is going to be at Crown Jewel or somewhere else before the end of the year. Because I expect Becky to lose the Intercontinental Championship by the end of the year. And maybe she gets a rematch or something along the lines of that. And then maybe she goes and they add another woman potentially, and maybe her and Becky go after the tag titles going into WrestleMania. I don't see Becky going after a world championship. If she does go after a world championship, she's not going to win. And if she does go after the world championship, it would be on probably a Raw or maybe a PLE before WrestleMania. I don't see her winning. But I do think, if we're thinking a long-term story, though, AJ Lee taking the title off of Becky would be a wholesome moment, because this is a title that AJ Lee did not have during her tenure as a WWE superstar. They did not have a women's mid-card title. They did not have a women's intercontinental or U.S. championship or anything like that. They did not have women's tag team titles for her during her run. They had the Divas Championship. I think we are going to be, when she wins that championship from Becky, and I'm calling it now, she is going to take the title from Becky Lynch. I'm calling it now. Becky Lynch will lose the title to AJ Lee. AJ Lee would carry the Intercontinental Championship into WrestleMania. She would go into the Royal Rumble, have a decent performance, but be eliminated by her, which I believe will be her WrestleMania opponent, Roxanne Perez. We all can agree when it comes down to AJ Lee being back in the WWE, and as far as stories and matches we want to see from AJ Lee, that match between her and Roxanne is on the top of that list. That is the match right now. People are going to say, oh, Rhea Ripley or Bayley. I get it. They're bigger names. But there's no need to rush that. The story right now is her going up against Roxanne Perez. They even have the story right there. Roxanne looked up to AJ Lee. She looked up to her. She was the reason she got into wrestling. And now she is going to go up against her idol. Almost a passing of the torch type of moment, where it's teacher versus student. Where you can have AJ Lee put over the next generation in Roxanne Perez as Women's Intercontinental Champion come WrestleMania 42 in Vegas. But that's just my little tidbit on that, and where I think the direction of the Intercontinental Championship might be going throughout the rest of the year and into next year. But like I said, my overall thoughts of the show, it was a cash money grab to shield to ESPN. It was, especially the first match, nostalgia. did absolutely nothing for me. It didn't make me happy. It just made me irritated that I wasted investing in my time to think that this match could have lived up to something decent in this match, especially with them having lack of build. I'm glad they didn't even put this match as the main event. I'm glad they didn't, because if this was the main event, this would have been 10 times worse. But regardless of how you put it, it was bad. Either you were starting off the show in a bad way, or you were going to end the show on a not so good note. But like I said, I'm glad that they didn't go with them having this be the main event of Wrestlepalooza. The show was a 4 out of 10 show. Now, was it the worst show? No. Like I said, there were a few spots that I enjoyed. They had something to take away in some type of excitement along from outside of the first match, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I didn't like the first match. The rest I tried to take something positive, because at least they gave me something to like about the match in some way, shape, or form. But that is my review for Wrestlepalooza, the first of many PLEs on this ESPN era that we are now on. This is not a good way to start the ESPN era. I was expecting them going to give us, at the very least, a decent showing for matches on the show that we can at least have some type of memory for, or some type of excitement, something to go home and be happy about spending $30. But this was nothing more than a waste, an absolute waste of your $30 if you pay for the ESPN. I said it earlier in the stream. If you have Netflix, I would advise you continue to keep using that. Continue to keep using your VPNs, ladies and gentlemen, because if this is going to be a sign of things to come, we are going to be in for a ride, and not a good one. Now, could the WWE, for whatever reason, bounce back? I would hope so. But right now, as it stands, I'm not holding my breath, because if this is going to be an indication of things to come, it's not going to be pretty. But that is my review for Wrestlepalooza. I appreciate everybody who stopped by and gave me your thoughts and opinions and chimed in on the conversation on everything that happened from Wrestlepalooza as we broke down the matches from start to finish. We talked about the pros and the cons, and where these stories and where these feuds and matches could potentially lead going into the rest of this final stretch of 2025. This is Kicking It with Leo, your host. I will be seeing you guys in the next video. I might be doing more streams like this in the future. If you guys wanted me to do more streams and reviews, leave a like on this to let me know you guys want me to do more streams and more dialogue and more dissections of WWE PLEs going forward. We know the next PLE will be Crown Jewel. We have none other than Survivor Series a couple weeks after. And then I think we have one more show to end the year for 2025. And then after that, it is 2026. And the first show is Royal Rumble, where one man and one female will punch their ticket to WrestleMania. But that is it for today. I appreciate every single one of you. You guys could have been anywhere. You chose to stop here. I appreciate every single one of you. But I will see you guys in the next stream. or video, whichever one you guys may happen to see first. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers, trying to get to that 10,000 milestone, trying to get to that 100,000 milestone, and so on and so forth. We're trying to get to that monetization goal to where I can turn my dream into a reality and do what I'm passionate about and talk about wrestling and be able to make a living off of doing what I'm passionate about. So if you want to be a support, it costs you nothing to support me in that journey. So go do so. I would appreciate that. But that being said, hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll see you guys in the next one.